Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, guys. Coming at you live from the new train station at Penn Station.
Ooh.
So I apologize if you hear some announcements overhead while we're talking here.
Did you purchase the proper carbon credits for taking the train as opposed to riding the bike to New York?
Well, I was going to say, what's the cleanest way to get to New York, Greg? Taking the train. So,
I will also be taking the train down to New York later on today, thanks to Ken Laird. He spared no expense in getting me to New York. So I guess we'll cross on the railways, Ben.
Strangers in the day today, I guess.
So what is this? What is the deal with this kerfuffle that occurred between Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft yesterday?
Yeah, our guy Seth Wickersham had the scoop this morning. I just know what Seth wrote, and that's that they were talking once again. Jerry Jones is making an issue out of Roger Goodell's compensation. I think he wants it to be tied more to performance than just handing over a large sack of money to Roger Goodell. And apparently Jerry Jones told Robert Kraft in the meeting, "Don't F with me," which using the very salty language there. And Robert Kraft said, "Excuse me," and Jerry changed his tone slightly and said, "Don't mess with me." But everyone did mess with Jerry because I believe the measure passed 31-1, with Jerry being the only one against it as far as Goodell and his compensation. So, another day of billionaires going at each other's necks.
We were talking about this earlier. Who would you take in a fight between the two of them?
Robert Kraft doesn't seem like a fighter in the physical sense. I mean, Jerry Jones looked like he could scratch and claw if he had to. Mm-hmm. I would take Robert in a courtroom fight any day, but I don't know about in a actual fisticuffs.
Right. I feel like Jerry might have more goons on payroll.
Oh, yeah. That would be the first thing. Ben,
go ahead, Courtney.
Ben, when it comes to the tone surrounding Dan Snyder, what's it been like down there for that?
So that was shocking yesterday what Jim Irsay did. I'm sure you guys have heard at this point that Jim Irsay kind of spoke out and he said the part that everyone has talked about. Oh, will the owners they try to force out Dan Snyder? Jim Irsay yesterday was the first one to publicly acknowledge the possibility that they're going to vote this guy out of their fraternity. And I remember I was with Bert Breer in the scrum yesterday, and we just kept looking at each other like, is this really happening? Like, because you never see owners break ranks like this and speak out against one another. And it's not just breaking ranks from the owners, but Goodell was clearly not happy, and NFL legal, because after Irsay spoke out, they went into the meeting and Goodell told everyone to zip it. We need the report to come back first because obviously Snyder's going to sue us, and we need to have all of our ducks in a row. So Goodell and the owners were not pleased that Irsay maybe spoke out of turn, but I think Irsay really ramped up the pressure on Goodell and the other owners to finally do something to Dan Snyder, because I think he's been a real problem on the league, and it's just one bad headache after another with Dan Snyder. So Jim Irsay, maybe not the best guy to be delivering the message, given some of the skeletons in his closet, but he had a great response to that. He's like, you know what? Come after me. I don't care. Investigate me. Get all the dirt you want. All my dirt is already out there. So I thought that was interesting.
What about the woman that died in Irsay's home? That was a weird story.
I mean, if anybody would be the moral compass of NFL owners, it would be Jim Irsay, I would say. Yes. Curtis, you had a question for Ben?
Yeah, so just to give you a heads up, Ben, Merloni, Fauria, and Mego went after Courtney yesterday. They also were hard after you. And your comments on Comcast where you said that the Patriots were happy that Mac Jones has been put in his place. You reported that Mac's head got too big after he was a Pro Bowler, and that there were people within the Patriots organization that are happy to see Bailey Zappe come in and play well and have Mac maybe shrink his ego. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, if that's the takeaway, then people need to go back and watch that clip again, because I didn't say a lot of those things. I didn't say anything about people in the Patriots. I'm not reporting that people, whatever, go back. I just think it's my opinion that he got way too big for his britches last year. And you saw it in the Pro Bowl and making the top 100. And then, I realized that clip caused a big kerfuffle yesterday, which I don't quite understand. But since all that yesterday, someone reached out in my DMs and said, "Yeah, Max his attitude problem is obvious in the building and everyone knows it. So like
somebody that not just a random.
Take that for what it's worth. But
somebody reached out and said that Mac has an attitude problem and everybody in the building knows it. Sounds like this sounds like nonsense to me, honestly.
Why is that nonsense?
Because why didn't we hear a single thing about it last season? Not one.
Because he wasn't a Pro Bowler then.
Yeah, and he was just like a rookie kid, and everyone was loving him up. But I think a lot of the issues have cropped up this offseason. I think he's been wondering why, he was given the defensive coach and the special teams coordinator as his coach, and the offensive scheme, like, that wasn't working, and just some of the body language stuff. I'm not saying like all the guys, like Mac didn't put in the work or anything. I'm just saying, like, it's good to be humbled. It's good for a kid who went to a Tony prep school and then Alabama and won the national championship and came to New England and went 10-7. Everyone's calling him the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's probably okay for him to be humbled a little bit and to have to work to get back to his starting job here. So people need to chill out over this whole thing. And there's definitely a lot of smoke there to the Mac Jones and him not vibing with the coaching staff.
Ben, just quickly, because this story is going to go big the second we post it. So you got a direct message from someone within the Patriots organization or someone who covers the Patriots?
Not from someone who covers the Patriots, but I'm not going any further than that. Don't look. There's just you guys are going to get. This is going to be day 2 of me not being able to use Twitter because
you said it. We didn't put a gun to your head.
I love
when
Ben.
I always say this about politicians because Charlie Baker, my good friend, does it a lot. When somebody says "look," they're getting serious.
Yeah.
So okay, go ahead. So say "look." I didn't really mean to say that.
I wouldn't take it as a report, just as someone else chiming in with an opinion.
The streets are talking.
Streets
Ben.
are talking. That's what I like to say, Ben. The streets are talking. Take it for what it is. You know what I mean? You make your own decision on that, and then they can go back and listen to the audio. Just the streets are talking, and then because you know how people are nowadays. You say the streets are talking, next thing you know, it's like, oh well, so and so spoke directly with Bill
Kraft.
Belichick. And
Ben, you reported this, then you got mad at the kerfuffle that created it, and then you said that someone that doesn't cover the team sent you a DM, meaning it's likely related to the team, that Mac needed an attitude adjustment. Now you're sounding like Adam Schefter, saying it wasn't a report. It is a report. You're a reporter, and that's really interesting information if that's true.
Well, do with it what you want. Call it a report, do what you want. I'm just telling you, it's not like anything I'm going to go like splashing all over the pages of the Boston Globe today. I'm just further illuminating stuff that I've heard.
I just feel like people are making stuff up now about Mac Jones because they're Zappe zealots. And
do you believe that though?
I do, yeah.
Do you believe I made it up?
Made up what?
The McCourty bowling event?
Yeah, the cheers.
No, I don't believe you were there.
Yeah.
I don't think you made that up.
So why do you believe that Ben's making something up?
I don't think Ben is making it up. Ben got a DM from somebody. Short of knowing who it is,
right,
and it being somebody that's actually in the building.
No,
I feel like people are, for whatever reason, they're happy go zappy, zappy go lucky, and they're painting Mac Jones as some kind of a out of control child, a tennis brat who's running around.
Tony private school.
See, I'm not going to speak for Ben.
Running around having temper tantrums.
Right, but
there's not a single report about that ever.
But I'm not going to speak for Ben. But I'm willing to bet that the person it wasn't like just some random, Joey bag of donuts off the street reaching out to Ben. I'm willing to bet you that it's somebody that's probably plugged in. Regardless of who that is, people are plugged in many different ways, whether it's I brought up Joe Button or we talk about Matt Barnes or, whether it would be somebody like off the pivot.
Ben Volin is our white Matt Barnes.
Ryan Clark or
Field Yates, very connected to
it
Pats.
could be somebody who has a podcast that's plugged in and around those people. I'm not saying that, but I truly believe, Ben. Let me make sure you don't, you get figure out what training. But I truly believe that there are some issues with that because, when you have that type of success as a first round pick, some of that stuff can generally go to your head, especially when you're hearing that you might not be that good of a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff. I mean, I don't understand how people think it's out of the ordinary for Mac Jones, a first-round pick, comes in. He's the only quarterback to make the playoffs. Everyone's talking about how much better he is than Trevor Lawrence. He's making it look easy. Then he gets selected to the Pro Bowl and top 100. I mean, of course he's going to have a little bit of ego. I mean, the way he was carrying himself during training camp this year, like like a guy who clearly was like the owner of the team, like, as far as like a team leader. And that, on the one hand, that's great. I mean, that's what you want to see out of your young quarterback.
That's what you want from your quarterback.
But not if you're Belichick and your young quarterback thinks he's bigger than he is, and he starts questioning the direction of the team and wondering, why are we doing this and why are we doing that? His job is also still to be the young quarterback and to do what he's told.
But, Ben, when we talked to you about Kendrick Bourne, you were saying, there were whispers about this during the offseason. He was questioning the offense, whatever. Now we're hearing guys like Burt Breer saying kind of the same thing about Mac, that Mac's a why, asking why they, didn't go bigger after Bill O'Brien. Are you hearing that, too, that it's a similar situation between the two?
I didn't hear exactly what Albert Breer said. But, again, you're hearing a lot of whispers, and there's a lot of reports coming up from Mike Florio, from Albert Breer, from other people that there's just everything's not like 100% hunky-dory between Mac and the coaches. And there's even that one report that Joe Judge even prefers. He's been advocating for Bailey Zappe. So, to think that we know what the dynamic of everything is like just from – a couple minutes of open locker room and from practice and what these guys say on the podium. I mean, that stuff is all sanitized. The stuff going on behind the scenes, I think there's a lot more friction than what appears initially.
Can't claim OG status when you have one misdemeanor on your rap sheet.
Well, on that note.
So
this is just incredible to me. I'm sorry, Ben. One more time with this. So Joe Judge says he prefers Bailey Zappe, and someone that would know agreed and endorsed your belief that Mac Jones was in serious need of an attitude adjustment.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's
okay.
true.
Huh. That's there it is.
Well, I believe that, Ben, knowing how Bill
Sounded like he was kicking a trash can after.
knowing how Bill operates.
No, that's because Auntie Anne's hasn't opened yet.
Because I think we've kind of seen this in the past to a smaller extent, whether it was with Jonas Gray, who was on the cover of, what the hell was he on the cover of? Sports Illustrated or something like that after his 200-yard performance. Where Bill, and that's one thing that I know personally from Bill, when you're a young guy, he doesn't want you to walk around like your head is too big. He wants you to, buy into the system and realize that, it's about the team before any individual accolades.
100%. I mean, he spent 20 years humbling Tom Brady. So, I mean, how do we think about how he feels about, Mac Jones going viral for a dance he's doing at the Pro Bowl and, Mac Jones getting the Pro Bowl in the top 100, and now he's the face of No Bull, the athletic spot. I mean, he for a young guy who had a nice rookie season but didn't accomplish a whole lot. He really became like the face of everything. And I'm sure Belichick is enjoying, not enjoying, but I'm sure Belichick likes to see Mac getting humbled a little bit. If anything, it's going to make him hungrier and like it did with Brady, make him a better quarterback.
So if Mac's 100% on Monday night, in your opinion, who gets the start?
I would stick with Zappe. I think the last thing you want to do if you're Belichick or any coach is to ping pong back and forth with your quarterbacks. I mean, I think it's a big deal to take your quarterback out and switch to another guy. So I would let Bailey Zappe, let it run its course. Let him keep playing, and either he plays his way out of the job or he's awesome and he keeps it. So I would not go back to Mac yet. I would let Bailey Zappe kind of run its course and let the chips fall where they may. I just, if Mac comes out and he doesn't have a good performance on Monday, that just opens up a whole can of worms, and it's not worth it. I think you stick with Bailey Zappe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Me too.
I'd agree with that one.
Ben, thanks for taking the time.
Greg, I have one last question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Ben, as an award-winning journalist, do you have any tips for Greg tonight as he goes on to try and win his Marconi Award?
As he tries to win the Marconi Award?
Yes.
I assume, Greg, you're traveling down to New York with some envelope stuffed with cash. That's usually the best way.
I think the votes are already in, Ben. I think it's already been decided, and I will let the chips fall where they may, as they say.
Well, I would say here's my advice: take the Mac Jones approach. Walk in there like you already own it.
Is this like the Dundee Awards? Is this going to be at Chili's tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Not better than the Dundies.
Bushiest Beaver Award.
I mean, this is outrageous what is being perpetrated on Mac Jones by you people. I just want to be clear.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah,
what do you mean,
we're just
people?
reading the reports.
You, Courtney,
Don't say
Wiggy,
me.
Ben.
I
everybody.
ain't heard nothing from the streets. I'd let you know if the streets were talking on my end, but I ain't heard nothing.
All right. Well, Ben, be careful down there. You're in the you're in Penn Station, and do you have an irrational fear of somebody throwing you onto the tracks? That happens every once in a while.
I don't have that fear, but I was waiting for the subway yesterday, and I saw a big, fat, giant rat on the track. So that was a good New York moment.
Yeah, be careful on the New York subways, man. It's vicious out there.
All right,
Yeah.
Ben, we will talk to you next week.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, that is Ben Volin.